So today I'm going to be making something called Tuna Fudge, which is a dog treat recipe that was left by a young woman who lives with her mom and their dog Willow. And she wanted to share this recipe because her dog has enjoyed it and she loves her dog as a core member of her family. So without further ado, I'm going to get started. The recipe calls for two 6-ounce cans of tuna. Unfortunately, because of the depleted grocery shelves, I'm working with herring fillets. So I'm going to add those to my bowl. I already added some, so you can see here. In addition to the canned fish, I'll be adding 2 eggs, 1 and 2, and about a tablespoon of ground eggshell. Now, I already ground up the eggshell prior to coming here today. I just used a little coffee grinder that I use for different spices. You could probably get away with just mushing it up in a bowl with a fork. But essentially a tablespoon of ground eggshells, excuse me. And that I found was about the equivalent of 3 eggs. So normally I would use the shells I just cracked, but for the sake of ambiance, I'm sticking with pre-done. Now, we're gonna give all those nice wet ingredients a quick whir with our hand mixer. And let me tell you, the smell is out of this world. So once you get a pretty consistent mix, it's time to add some dry ingredients. So again, the recipe called for whole wheat flour. I only have white flour, but that seems to work just fine for this recipe. So you want 1 1/2 cups of that. I'm using a 1/2 cup measure. So 1, 2, and 3. And then in addition to our flour, we're going to be adding a 1/4 cup of shredded mozzarella cheese. And that's just going to help bind all of this deliciousness together. This is really fun too. This recipe, part of why we chose it is because it's very kid friendly. So I actually have my son in the back room right now cutting out a batch I made before. Excuse me, I unplugged my mixer. Oh dear. Alright, so we want to give this all a nice big stir. Don't worry, I'll clean up my mess later. Oh wow. What a smell. Alright, you want to get all that goop off your mixers. Alright, 1, 2. Now I did find in my test batch of this that it's helpful, even though I strayed from the recipe, to go ahead and grease your pan that you're going to be using. So you're going to want a 10-inch by 10-inch pan. At this point, you want to make sure you already have your oven preheated to 350 degrees. And the key for this, it really feels just like cake batter. So, or brownie batter, I guess. It's a little thicker than a cake. And you want to just spread a nice, even surface so that your fudge is consistent all throughout. And as I mentioned before, you're going to bake this in a 350 degree oven. Now it is going to make your whole house smell like hot canned fish. And you can decide if that's a good thing or a bad thing. All right, so we're spread out. I'm going to just pop this right in my oven under here for 20 minutes. Now, as that cooks, through the magic of television, I bet you can guess, I already have a finished batch. Now there's two ways you can finish the presentation of your fudge. You can do like I did and turn out your fudge onto a board and cut it out using appropriate sized cookie cutters. Or you can simply cut squares of the appropriate size right in the pan and save it for your dog. This is going to keep for 3 to 4 days in the refrigerator, and you can freeze it for up to 3 months. So my favorite part of any recipe, testing it out. Ha!